All right, everybody, welcome to NorCal Sports Network. And this is the same hat that Brock Purdy's dad wears. Chat loves it when Marty Lurie comes on.
Anytime you lose a game this time of year, when you can't go backwards, it's a problem.
All right, everybody, welcome on in to NorCal Sports Network. As promised, Bobby Evans, special advisor to Buster Posey, has joined the show. Welcome, Bobby.
Good evening. How's it going, Dan?
It's going great. It's going great. Was going to have Bora join us, but he's on a flight home, and I think he just arrived a little bit ago at SFO and probably might join us in a little bit, but he was on the heading home from school in Southern California.
That's great. I'm glad to see Bora if he joins us. That'd be great.
Yeah. So tell us about, you were at the winter meetings last week in Dallas. Giants were broke news the day before. The big news came out about Juan Soto and got the surprise, kind of a surprise signing, grabbed Willy Adames. How did that all come about?
Well, I think we were all surprised to see the amount of money that Juan Soto got. I mean, I think I guess we never should be too surprised with the free agent market, given what it is today. And obviously, whenever a guy goes into the market a little younger, there tends to be even more play for a guy like that. And you got the two New York teams. I don't remember the last time two New York teams were battling a free agent. So pretty special, competition, and obviously finish very close apparently. But I think from Buster's first press conference, he said that shortstop was a priority, and
right.
And he, with the staff and his own assessment of the options out there, and Zach was very astute, having known Willy Adames, with the Milwaukee Brewers, and
right,
our relative evaluations and assessments. And I think that I give Buster and Zach a lot of credit. They went out and got the guy that was a very clear target for them for obvious reasons. The shortstop position being one, and then wanting to really add to the lineup for Bomel as they put together the 2025 club. And it's a great addition. I think Buster mentioned how well he fit, for us offensively and defensively, but also I think what
right.
Buster also mentioned was how impressed he was, with the character of the player, and the energy of the player, and how that player will contribute in a team environment, in a clubhouse that's trying to win day in and day out, and the kind of influence that he'll have with young players. I think Buster took all of those things into account, and went after the guy that he felt was the best on the market.
Right. Now tell us about, you were hired along with Buster's ex-agent, Jeff Berry, as advisors. Are you working alongside with Jeff as you work together?
Yeah, we all work together now as a part of Buster's baseball operations department. Clearly, Jeff and I are available and on hand as needed, and we both were at the winter meetings and have spent some time in the office with the staff, and it's just really fun to see how Zach and Buster are teaming up to lead this baseball operations department, how they're building a plan, how they're involving a lot of the baseball ops voices. I think that what was impressive to me is just to see how well the staff was invested in the conversations and the decisions, and how Buster and Zach valued the people in the room. And I think when people feel valued, I think it's really an opportunity to get the most out of people's experience and opinions. And I think clearly they did a great job, that I saw from the winter meetings and have seen also in the office. They're, very engaged and I think leading well. And I think they put together, the first, big move with Adames, and I think, not to forget the move that was made at the end of the season and adding Chapman on a 6-year deal. It really gives you a strong left side of the infield. It gives you a strong middle of the order. And, it's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot of offseason left, but I think that those moves alone show the commitment of ownership. It shows the drive of Buster and his plan. And I think it gives Bomel the beginnings of a lot of hope for 2025.
Yeah, well, I know that when the signing happened, I know myself and my crew and the chat that we have, the all the followers were super stoked and very, very excited about Willy Adames. And I felt like he was the number one target as as a baseball observer, fan, and someone who's followed the game for over 50 years. I felt like the shortstop is such a critical position on the team, and to get that position solidified for the next 7 years is great. And hopefully that's not the end. I know you can't tell us exactly everything that's going on, but we're hearing the all the talk in the media has been about Corbin Burns, and the Giants are in on him, and that a lot of people last week, Bob Nightingale and Passon and Heyman, they were all reporting that they thought a deal might be close, that the Giants were clearly the favorites, but anything can happen. I realize that, but do you think anything like that could come down before Christmas, or is it just waiting on an agent, waiting on Burns? How does that all play? How does that come about where, all right, tidy everything up, we've made a deal, and we come to an agreement? How does that all come about?
I mean, in the free agent market, I think that a lot of players, many times are entering the free agent market for the first time, and so they whatever level of the market that they're in. I mean, they want to make sure that they get a feel for what kind of teams' interests are, and so clubs are usually very consistent about explaining to an agent where they are in their pecking order and their interest level. And I think that we see deals sometimes getting done a lot slower in the modern day than we used to. It seemed like lots of times, even before Thanksgiving, players wanted to go home to their families and say where they were playing, even at Thanksgiving, so they didn't get asked throughout the holiday, and much less to not be signed before Christmas. But we're seeing free agents not only sign in January, but we're seeing them sign after spring training starts. And the Giants took advantage of that market a good bit last year. It has its downsides. I mean, when players sign late, it's hard for the player to necessarily be as ready when the season starts. It also creates a challenge for them when it comes to connecting with their new teammates or their new organization, and finding the chemistry part of the clubhouse to come in late like that. But I think that agents are looking for a deal that when the market opened, that would make sense to how the market has developed. And I think that's challenging for agents, because the market is not unlimited. There's 30 teams, but not everybody needs the same guys, and sometimes as guys go off the board, there's also trades that open up, and so clubs get things done by way of trade. They get things done maybe with a lesser free agent, or they realize there's guys in their system that can cover. And so I think everyone has a Christmas list or a wish list, or a 2025 or next season wish list. And I think that the GMs and the front offices have to really put their heads together to figure out what's best for their team. But I don't think that the market is really as generous, obviously, to aging players. I mean, we last year saw Brandon Belt didn't re-sign, and he still had a lot, I think, in the tank, and and that happens to guys sometimes. So I think the evolving nature of the offseason is very different depending on who you are. I mean, sometimes when a guy is the top of the market, there's a lot of interest, and a lot of times that takes longer. And sometimes in the case of Soto, that was important for the market to get him off the board, because it opened up other deals to get done, whether free agent deals or trades. And so sometimes you need some of those guys to go so that you can clear the way for other deals. I'm excited to see how the market plays out, but it's hard to say what's going to happen. I think that one of the advantages that I think Buster mentioned, for the Giants is already having, a 5-man rotation,
Right.
within the organization already. And so what options open up, in the market, whether it be for a larger free agent or smaller guys, I think time will tell. But it's always a good position, to go into the market with already having options internally.
Yeah. It's interesting because maybe it's just my conservative physical nature maybe it's my age and being in the insurance industry. I've seen so many things crazy happen. I had a client that I just found out today. I was already taking a life insurance application. She's an older person, but just found out she had a stroke a couple days ago. I took the application a week ago. So unfortunately for her, sad, hopefully she's going to be okay. But, that is no longer on the table to get a life insurance policy after having a major stroke.
Yeah.
I keep thinking, if I'm one of these guys that's out there that has a contract of 200 million, 500 million, whatever the price tag is, and we're haggling over 20 million, I'm signing the deal because I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to get hit by a car tomorrow and then, break my leg or something. And I'm no longer have that deal because I'm out of commission for at least a year. I don't understand some of these deals, why guys just don't sign the deal when it's put in front of them and they're trying to. I get it, but I don't know, when you take an extra 2 months, you're taking a risk. I mean, Blake Snell learned last year. Look, I'm not waiting. We saw how fast he went off the board. He got his money that he was looking for, and he signed it. He didn't wait because what did he sign last year? In March, I think, during spring training? I think he signed early March and really affected his first half of the season, missing pretty much all of spring training.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, I think that these players, they're competitors. I mean, I think that the agents are competitors too, and I think, the guys want to get their deal. Sometimes this is their only shot at free agency, or it's their first shot, and maybe their only shot. And so I think that they recognize what the market is. I think the relative risk is, as we saw even last year. There's some guys that end up with 1-year deals, but then they've turned around and, some in case of Chapman and Snell, they turned around and came back with long-term deals this winter. So
right.
It's that's why you have agents, because you need the professional expertise of the guys who have done this for years. Whether if this is your first time as a player, you're all the more dependent upon your agent to guide you through it. And that's why you pick the right guy. And oftentimes they have agents that they've had since they were, right out of high school, or certainly, soon after they got into college, just because they needed the guidance and the advisory role, ultimately the agent to represent them as negotiations begin. But these players are tough. They're smart. They have experience, playing the game, and they understand what their value is. And I think as a free agent, you work hard to get, what you think you deserve. But I think that, players and agents alike, they have to work together, and ultimately it takes, a team that fits what you're looking for at the price that you're looking for, and ultimately opportunity that you're looking for.
Oops, I had my mute button, my mistake there. Guys out in the chat, I know you're asking a lot of great questions and you want some answers, as we all do, but Bobby's not going to be able to reveal what the Giants' secrets are. Are they going to sign so-and-so or have a deal in place? So
I can't see those questions, but I'm sure they're good ones.
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions that you might be able to answer here. This first one is from Mark Graves. He says, does Eldridge make the opening day roster if he has a hot spring? Maybe that's more of does he have a shot at maybe, I guess that would be more appropriate.
I mean, that's a decision that ultimately Buster and Bob Melvin and Zach will have to make. I mean, I think the truth is, it's always been, my bias to give guys to really have to force their way up. Even with Buster, I mean, he started the season in the minor leagues, and he was clearly, right, the future coming, but wanting to make sure that he started the season, in the minor leagues and forced his way up. Brandon Belt forced his way up during spring training, but he had
Right.
an incredible spring. But it was also risky because the spring training offense is very different than, and the pitching you face is very different than what you face in season. So
Absolutely.
it's really nice if you can get a guy to force his way up in season rather than force his way up from the start of spring training. But one of the things that a lot of baseball lifers look back on is, how many innings has a guy pitched? How many at bats has a guy gotten in the minor leagues? Just so that you allow them to come up without having to look back. Bring them up and hopefully bring them up to stay. When you shortchange that with innings or shortchange that with at bats, it plays a risk. And I think it's even more risky when you're talking about players that didn't go 2 or 3 years to college. There's even another level of risk. And so, I'm sure that will play out over the spring. But I think history tells me that a conservative approach is always a smart approach.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if many people remember. I certainly remember it. I want to say back in the 70s is I'm thinking Giants had a guy by the name of Randy Elliott in spring training. The guy hit like 500 in spring. He came out of nowhere, and he made the opening day roster because of that hot spring, and it really kind of went downhill from there. But yeah, I think it's important to make sure that guys don't get rushed. And I'm sure Buster remembers that experience himself. That was 2009, where he came up late in the season, and then 2010 he came up and took over the job, and you guys believed in him so much that you actually traded away a really good catcher in Molina and sent him to Texas, which I love that move because it says we're committed. We're not going to play around, and we're just going to make this move, and it, the rest is history.
Well, I liked how Sabian and Boch handled that move, because they brought Buster up. They didn't stick him right in the middle of the order. They put him down in the lineup. They also started him primarily at first base and let Benji continue to be the everyday catcher. And I think that once clearly Buster had his feet on the ground, Brian pulled the trigger on a deal that opened up the behind the catching spot on a day-to-day basis. And I think that as you bring up prospects, you want to put them in a position to succeed. One of the benefits of the minor leagues is when you fail, you learn how to fail and learn how to bounce out of it, so that when you do get to the big leagues and you do fail or you do struggle, you're ready and know how to bounce out of it. And I think that's an important part of development. I think it's nice to have options. It's nice to have players that the fans are excited about, that the front office is excited about, and it's all about timing and again, putting them in a position to succeed, both for the individual player and for the team as a whole.
Yeah, that's great. Now, a couple of players that you signed when you were the general manager of the Giants internationally, Marco Luciano and Luis Matos, we're hearing Luciano is learning the outfield position this winter. What can you tell us about them and any progress and what we might expect to see out of them this year?
Well, we were at the winter meetings. We were talking about the fact that Luciano was about to start winter ball, which is great. I mean, we value at bats in the winter. It just is really very helpful for young players. I think it's especially helpful because the competition level in Latin America, Dominican, and Venezuela, is good, and the pitching can really be tough. And so a lot of times you're talking, at least AAA, if not big league, pitching against you, and that's really helpful for you as you try to come into camp strong and ready to compete. Matos is having, as last I heard, very good winter in Venezuela offensively, and we got a chance to see him some last year. So he'll be coming in trying to show that he's ready to help at the big league level. And Luciano, with a position change, that's going to take some time. That's not an easy transition from the infield to the outfield. I remember Sean Dunston did that at one time. Went from the infield later in his career to the outfield, and you're talking about a veteran player. I think it's even hard for a young player to learn a new position. But I think the time will be to Luciano's advantage, and as he gets at bats and some reps in the outfield during winter ball, it'll give him all that much more prep for coming into spring healthy and ready to compete for an opportunity.
Yeah, I'm very high on Matos. I love the kid because he makes contact, and in a day and age when guys are striking out at alarming rates, the league average is like 25%. And I looked at the Giants roster, and it's full of guys, even Adames, who just signed, averaging about 25% K rate. Chapman, Ramos, Adames, Fitzgerald's high, Bailey, Yaz, pretty much the entire team. But Jung-Hoo Lee has about an 8% K rate in limited time last year. And Matos is right around that 13%. So I personally, this is me, I know you have no say who plays and who doesn't. It's Buster and Bob, but I hope they give a long look to Matos this spring, because if he plays every day and just gets his chance, I think this kid can be a really good hitter. And we saw what he did in 1 week last year. He was National League Player of the Week. But as you know, or well aware of, when guys don't get the chance to play consistently, it's really hard to get your timing down facing these elite pitching that
I've listened, to some of what Buster and Bob Melvin have discussed as far as, seeing guys take more of a two-strike approach. And I think that could be very helpful for these guys in cutting down those strikeouts and, not swinging for the fences with two strikes and putting the ball in play.
That's a great point.
Can really help a lot. I think sometimes the approach of the game today oftentimes is all or nothing. And I think that, one of the ways that we were successful in winning 3 championships was, guys played good baseball, and they didn't try to do too much. And there's times where we weren't home run hitting teams. Maybe any of those 3 years, home runs came at the right times, at the right spots, during the season and in the off season, of course. But a lot of our run production came by hitting the ball the other way, hitting well with 2 strikes, and guys not trying to do too much. So I think that's some of the message that our hitting coaches will be talking more, especially through what Bob Melvin and Buster are saying.
Tell us about that, Bobby. Is that just a change in philosophy and approach, and it can be implemented pretty easily with guys that can learn that all of a sudden? Because, Matt Chapman, as great as he is, he's always had a high strikeout rate, and that just comes with some players, the territory, because if they hit with power, that's their swing path. Can guys like that easily adjust with 2 strikes? Because we saw that in the playoffs and the World Series, the importance of 1 out, less than 2 out, man on third. Sometimes it's just infield back. Hey, all you need here is just a ground ball. Just hit a ground ball. Don't try and drive it. Just make contact and get that key run home. Is that something that is players that have been around a long time can make that adjustment?
I mean, I don't think anybody can make any adjustment easily, but I think that over time, with a different mindset and the approach can change, and it can, as you have success, it gives you more drive to shift your thinking with 2 strikes. But yeah, I think that the best hitters obviously can do that, and maybe already do that. So I think that the ask of players to do that is smart. I think it gives the offense a chance to keep moving the line, so to speak. Let the next guy come up. You get on or put the ball in play, and let the runners advance, or in fact, hit a ball, for a base hit, and then the next guy can come up. And I think that the all or nothing approach is worked for some teams, but it is a challenging way to play the game, and it does create a lot higher strikeouts. And so I think the players that are invested in listening to the coaching staff and can see the benefits of that approach will ultimately apply it and hopefully have success at it. It's not going to be easy. I mean, you look at the pitching that they're facing today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty incredible. I mean, the ball, the way the not only velocity but the movement on the cutters or the splitters or the sliders, the breaking balls, it's not easy. And so, in many ways, I think that these guys will benefit from not being all or nothing as they
Yeah, and I
approach.
think back in the day when I played in high school, and it was you rarely saw somebody different in the game. Maybe your last at bat, but you usually got 2 or 3 at least at bats against the same guy. Nowadays, you rarely get to see him the third time. And some of these bullpen games, I don't know how you face a guy, 4 different guys with all different angles, delivery angles, different stuff. It's got to be tough to go out there. But here's another question that George Curry asked, and I'm not sure if, let's see, Bobby, what positions are the Giants looking at right now to improve? If you can tell us well, I think Buster's already mentioned shortstop, which they filled. And what else has he mentioned? I think first base. Is that something that they've been considering?
I mean, I think Buster's been open, to look at all options. I mean, clearly, there's depth in the system. There's depth on last year's roster at all those positions. So you could stay internal, but I think that anything that Bomel and Buster can do to improve the club offensively, I think they'll be open. I don't think that the position is something he's necessarily spoken to, but I know that offensively you want to give support to the top of the order, the middle of the order, and you want to find depth, and that I think there's a pretty significant amount of the 40-man roster is coming back from last year, and so
Right.
the opportunity to continue to look at the trade market or look at the free agent market to deepen the lineup is, I think, it's certainly on the table. I think the challenge will be just trying to find what fits with our relative club and also who you want to stick with on the current 25-man roster.
Yeah. One guy went off the board today in a trade I was kind of had my eyes on for the Giants. I was hoping maybe Giants might be looking at Cody Bellinger. It looked like the Cubs just really wanted to get rid of the salary and moved him to the Yankees. But you've made trades. You've been on both sides of a trade. You're at the winter meetings. Can you tell us a little bit, without, maybe you can't give us all the details, but just in general, how a trade comes about and how long the process takes? I mean, I've heard some trades are talked about at winter and then they're made at the next, trade deadline during the summer. Some trades happen just like that. Can you, expand a little bit on that? How a trade, how you get it started?
Well, I mean, you're always trying to balance not insulting the other team, so you try not to make assumptions that they're making certain players available, but oftentimes, thanks to the media, you read, things that tell you who they have available. But that's one of the benefits of the GM meetings. It's one of the benefits of the winter meetings. As you're spending time with other GMs, you talk about the guys that you'll engage on, and you're forthcoming about that, and maybe you throw that out there with just the what if. We may consider this, we may consider moving this guy if the right deal comes about. But invariably, when a player gets mentioned, there is some intent behind it to feel out the market. So it's very reasonable for a club, when they hear a given name, to throw out an offer of what they would deem a reasonable deal. Maybe it's comparing that player to another player that was dealt last offseason or dealt at the trade deadline, and trying to offer a package that would be comparable. Clubs are good about keeping track of what other players a club has had interest in the past, and so those players could be part of the discussion. But the players in the off season, there's no deadline. During the season we have the trade deadline, so you you start to see
Right.
a rapid fire exchange of names and whatnot, because there's a deadline, and there's also more leverage for teams in the winter. So you have an opportunity to potentially acquire a free agent rather than make a deal at all. So I think as names get exchanged, conversations may advance, they may slow down. The competition may lessen, and maybe a club's been able to address a situation in another way, maybe with a free agent, maybe with another trade, and then that team drops off the map. So you've got to be smart about reading the other team, reading their intent, reading their sense of timing, reading their interest level. But you know what? Invariably, what happens is a lot of trades just go away right away because they ask for that guy that you're not going to deal, or they ask for two of those guys that you're not going to deal,
Right.
and then the conversation's over before it starts, and that they can do that sometimes because when a player or another team has already made an offer of two guys, or a level of prospect, or even a player off of their major league club, that becomes the baseline for that team. If I can't get at least this from any other team, I'm going to go with the club who made this offer to me. And so sometimes that can really help move along the market, but it can be hard for those clubs who are trying to hold on to their prospects.
Someone spotted something, and I'm not sure if that's true or not. They said, you're wearing one of the rings. Do you have one of the rings on that you could show us? Are you wearing one of the World Championship rings?
Yeah, 2014.
Right there. There we go. A little closer forward.
Yeah.
Nice. A little that. Oh, yes. That's beautiful. 2014. Wow. Yes.
Yeah, the players, after having won in 10 and 12, they wanted to see it a little bigger in 14, and I think Buster was one of those who wanted to see it a little bigger, so he got his wish, and it's a little bigger than the other two.
Now, you went through all three, and it's probably a very hard question. I'm sure you've been asked it before. Is there a favorite of the three? It's not the rings, but winning it all, just the team itself. Is there?
I mean, they're all so special. I mean, 10 was the first time, in 6 years.
Right. First one in San Francisco.
Yeah, first time in San Francisco. So how can you get more special than that? But 2012, I mean, we were down 2-0 to the Reds. We were down 3-1 to the Cardinals. And then we have to go to Detroit and face, Verlander and Scherzer and Cabrera, who won the Triple Crown. I mean, what a team that was in Detroit. And we sweep them, after having to come back against Cincinnati, having to come back against St. Louis. It was a year of redemption for Barry Zito, who ended up not being on the roster after pitching 200 innings in the regular season in 2010. As he mentions in his book Curveball, he goes out in 2012 and pitches a key game in St. Louis. We're down 3-1, loads the bases in the first inning, pitches his way out of it, goes on to win the game, and then pitches game 1 of the World Series and beats Verlander thanks to Pablo, who also got a little less playing time in 2010. Then he comes back and is World Series MVP, started by winning or hitting those 3 home runs in game 1. So then 2014, I mean, you have a game 7. I mean, how much more magical can you get? And you have Madison Bumgarner coming out of the bullpen. And I remember Felipe Alou was sitting behind me at the ball game that night. And he says, this game is over as soon as he sees Madison coming from the bullpen. And I'm like, oh my goodness, no, don't say that. Don't say that. I'm not that I'm superstitious, but I mean, that's pretty bold. But I realized, it's Felipe. He can say what he wants. And he was right. The game was over. I mean, 5 innings later.
That's probably the greatest moment in World Series history, as far as I'm concerned, as a fan of a Giants fan. Just that performance. I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. Pitching game 5, a complete game, and then coming back a few days later and pitching 5 more innings. It's just, I think his ERA all time in the World Series is .025.
That's great.
Okay. That's great. If any Giants executives besides Bobby's listening, we need a statue of Mad Bum out there at 3rd and King somewhere along the premises needs to be a Mad Bum statue.
I like it. I like it. It's fun. Like all those World Series, there were some really significant home runs. I mean, Buster and Crawford and Posey and Morse and Renteria and Uribe and Michael Morse. I mean, you know, just so many huge moments, huge defensive plays. I think about Crawford and Panic and Pence and just so many great memories. And I think it was really amazing to see those guys back for the 2014 reunion. Some of whom were on all three teams, and some of whom were just on a couple of those teams, and many of whom were just on the 14 team. But to see them come back together and the way that they still jab each other and have fun with each other, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years.
Yeah, Dallas. That's Mad Bub on a horse blowing a snot rocket. That would be, oh gosh. Anyway, yeah, the team itself, it's going into, it's not complete, so we really have no way of knowing. Still a few months before first game, couple months before we get even into spring training. I think we're just about 2 months away now from pitchers and catchers reporting mid-February. They usually report right around Valentine's, I think. So there's a lot that can happen in the next 60 days before the spring training, 70 days, whatever it is. Is there as far as the team is constructed, when you look at, you mentioned earlier, Buster's open to improving the team, whatever, but is there a player that you in particular would think would be a great fit for this team that's out there that is a free agent?
Well, I think it's fun to dream on a lot of guys, but I think that as I've seen the front office go to work, there's no question that they're thorough, they're thoughtful, they understand the culture they're trying to build in that clubhouse. They understand that they're trying to put a team that the fans can get excited about, but also one that can compete for a postseason opportunity and ultimately win a championship. And I know Buster's in a position where he didn't have to do this. He was already in an ownership capacity, an executive board member, and was able to influence sort of the direction of the club from a significant role. But this is very day to day. This is fully invested, fully committed kind of role and capacity, and I think what's been fun to see is how energized he is by it and how invested he is on a day-to-day basis. I think that's something that the front office, I think ownership, I think fans can appreciate, that he's not going to leave any opportunity unlooked at or any stone unturned. He's going to be invested in finding creative ways to improve the club, and that'll take us all the way up to spring training, but I think that we'll see even throughout the season. But he's also got the big picture in mind. He's not trying to win just now. He's trying to win on an ongoing basis, and it's hard to overcome in a division right now with the D-backs, the Padres, the Dodgers. He's got his work. We've all got our work cut out for us together. But I think the fun fact is that there's a front office that's fully committed to finding an angle or a deal in whatever form that will improve the club. And I think that's going to be fun to watch. And I don't know who that'll be. None of us do at this point, but I don't think that there'll be anything missed out on that wasn't at least looked at in a careful and thoughtful way. But also taking into account, you want to give your prospects and your young players a chance, but you also want to find ways to enhance your roster and give yourself the chance over 162 games to get into that postseason, even if it's a wild card. I mean, you just want to get in there and see, and take your chances. And I think that with Logan Webb and hopefully Robbie Ray coming back healthy, and with the young arms that are there, a strong bullpen. We saw the emergence of a new closer. We also still have Duvall in tow that can help us, late in the game, and the Roger brothers, and there's a lot of things to look forward to with those arms in the bullpen, and I think that's part of why we were successful. We had a core four guys that Lopez and Casilla and Romo, and it was an Affelt. How could I forget Affelt? I mean, the core
Yeah.
four. That's part of how we got to where we were. We won the games we were supposed to win because our bullpen came in and did the job. And I think Bob Melvin, similar to Boch, knows how to manage a bullpen, and there's arms there to work with. And in terms of specifics, I think we'll have to let every opportunity play out. But a lot to look forward to, and I appreciate you having me on tonight. It's nice to be with you. Sorry, I don't get to see all the questions. I hope they're.
Yeah, I'll put up a couple, and I know you got to go in a few minutes. Bobby's son is flying home from college, and Bobby's got to run to the airport, pick him up here shortly. So
he just landed, Dan. So whenever
you just landed, okay.
But we can finish up. I'm glad to finish up.
All right. Well, good. We'll finish up and let you get going here. So you mentioned getting into the playoffs and a rotation. You left one guy out there in the rotation. You mentioned Wade and Ray and a couple other guys. You forgot Corbin Burns there, Bobby.
No, I said it said Logan Webb. Logan Webb's the top of our rotation.
I know. We need Burns too. I know you don't can't say anything even if you knew. So, but we're all waiting. Hopefully that decision does come down and the Giants are able to land a Corbin Burns. But one last question before we let you go. Somebody asked about the minors, and I know that that's near and dear to you. The minor leagues is development. The team itself, publications, Bleacher Report, MLB, they all have rankings. Callis, Jim Callis, and they rank the teams. Giants right now are currently, by most prognosticators, have them ranked near the bottom as a farm system. How does the club feel about their current farm system? And is there a sleeper that could arise that might be on the 40-man roster this year, or maybe he's not even on the roster, that could surprise some people and make a mark this year?
I mean, I think so. I think I'm still refamiliarizing myself with the farm system, but I love the leadership that Buster's put in place. He's kept Kyle Haynes as the director of player development. He's brought Randy Wynn in as the vice president of player development, who has a great feel for the development process and coaches and philosophies that are going to help players, get to that pinnacle that they dream of. And I think that the team alone of Kyle and Randy is formidable. And I think it gives Buster confidence that the kind of culture that you want to have in your farm system and the messaging that you want to give your players in the farm system about their opportunities is going to be consistent, and it's going to be clear. And I think it's going to be invigorating for the coaches who are manned with the responsibility to instruct, to disclose strategy, and our analysts, to disclose assessments of their performance so that players can get the most out of their ability. Part of the organization's job is to be a steward of those players' careers. And if you're going to be a steward of their careers, you have to provide them the best coaches, the best facilities, the best conditioning and medical advancement and training, and nowadays biometric data. And so there's a lot of things that are provided, by the club to help give those players the best chance to succeed. But they're not going to succeed if they don't get opportunity to pitch or opportunity to hit or opportunity to play in a winning environment. So part of that is creating a farm system that's competitive. And again, I'm not sure exactly of the depths of the system right now, but from what I can tell, they're strong, and they're only going to get stronger. And I think that Randy and Kyle will do a great job to get the most out of their ability, and also try to be maybe a little bit conservative about how quick they move up. I think that the game today is moving players faster and faster, and that can come at a price, because then sometimes players are not ready, and now they're on the 40, and now they've got to go back on option, and you've started their clock, so to speak, their major league clock early, and that can be costly for their development. It'd be costly for their confidence.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I think it'd be wise for the Giants to be cautious with Bryce Eldridge. But I love the move, him bringing on Randy Wynn. Every baseball person that I have talked to says they think it's a fantastic move. It just, Randy Wynn was an excellent ball player, and loved the way he played the game. So, and you had Randy when you were with the club in the executive office. Randy was there, what, 06, 07, somewhere in there?
Yeah. We had him as a key part. A key trade with Seattle, and he came up and had 50 some hits in September, and we ultimately extended him. And he's a great athlete, and I think that he's got a great eye for talent, but he's also has a unified mindset that with Buster and with Kyle, to how to develop these players and move them through the system in a way that will be, not only productive immediately, but also in the long term. And again, helping coaches feel like they have a clear voice to that development process is important too. So
excellent. Well, we'll let you get going. One minor leaguer that was up with the big club, and you mentioned in Arizona the facilities, unbelievable facilities at Papago. I met Casey Schmidt down there last week. Got 12 autographed baseballs by Casey. We've been giving them away here on the show, and I'm a big fan of Casey's. I just think he's a great fielding. I just unbelievable glove, soft hands, and I think his bat's going to come around. I hope he gets a shot this year, because I think he'll prove a lot of people, some naysayers, wrong. So, but anyway, Bobby, Merry Christmas to you, and Happy New Year, and thank you for coming on. And we'll have to maybe after some of the signings happen, if anything does happen after the new year, we can have you back on.
I look forward to it, Dan. Merry Christmas.
All right. Merry Christmas. Take care, Bobby. All right. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. The great Bobby Evans of the San Francisco Giants. And Bobby will come back again with us maybe after the first of the year. And we appreciate his time right before Christmas, and family coming in to town, going to go pick up his son at the airport. So we really appreciated Bobby taking his time tonight to come on. Appreciate all the questions. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of them. I want to really give our guest a lot of time to just share what's on his mind. And I hope you can understand that we can't really ask some of the questions that are, he's not going to, no executive is going to tell you exactly what's going on. So they can't. It has to be in general, but we do appreciate Bobby taking the time. And when they do, and if they do, and sign some people, and hopefully it is Corbin Burns and maybe some others, we'll get Bobby back on, and he'll be freer to talk about those particular players. So I want to thank you guys for being part of this. Hey, tomorrow night, guys, we've got a really special show again. So we're going to do a dual show tomorrow. Half of the screen will be me, and the other half will be Marty Lurie. And we're going to do a dual simulcast on Marty's show and here. So bring it tomorrow, right here on NorCal Sports Network at 7:45, our new starting time. Marty Lurie will join us tomorrow night, and we'll be doing a show together. Okay. So that will be a great time. Marty's the best, man. If you guys ever get a chance to talk to Marty Lurie on his show on KMBR, he's just a genuine nice man. Okay. Marty's just, he's just the best. That's all I can say. Marty's been really good to me and to so many other people, and you're not going to want to miss tomorrow night. Marty Lurie joining up with NorCal Sports, and Marty's show, I believe it's Marty Lurie and Friends is what it's called. maybe Ryan could tell me the exact show, the name of it, but I know it's something and Friends. So, guys, if you have any questions right now, I'll try to get to them. The chat is full. And maybe what I will do is bring in, I know Bora was out there. He was coming home from Southern California. So we'll go for another 20 minutes or so, guys. So keep it right here. I'm going to bring in Lou if he's available. So let me send out Lou the, hold on one sec while I send this out to Lou and get him in here if he's available. 1 second. All right. Lou's out there if he's able to come on in. Bora is, Lou was on a flight tonight. He didn't land until roughly 7 o'clock. So what is it now? 8:45. So I figured Bora probably didn't even get home till after 8 o'clock. So not sure if he's was going to be able to make it, but you know, Bobby is a man of his word. He said he would come on after the winter meetings, and he kept his word. And I really appreciate that. Too much says, can you have one of these hats? You know, I had 3 of them. This one, the Giants. I had the red and beige, which was the 49ers. And then I had the blue and gold, which was the Warriors. So I gave those, I traded them. Los and I, you know how I like to do trades. I made a trade with Los, 2 hats for 1. I got a hat from the Vatican. You know, my family's from Italy, so I had to have a hat from Rome. So bought right from Rome, from the Vatican. So Los and I made a trade. You know, it was a good deal. So where can you get these hats? Ask Mark Graves. Mark Graves remembers the name. I can't remember the name of them. It's a place in the cities. Mark Graves, if you're out there, what's the name of this place I got these hats? I cannot remember. I get email. Residency. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, look up the Residency on Google. Just Google Residency hats, and you can get those hats. They've got a list of them on there. Yeah, it's called Residency. Oh, it's got a 3 in it. Yeah. Check that out. Screenshot that or whatever. Take a photo. Look that up, and you can order those hats from them. They're great hats. They're adjustable too. See, they got the adjust. And this one's Velcro, I think. Yeah, this is Velcro. So, all right. Yeah, guys, we got some new videos out. Make sure you check those out. Put 3 out already today. One on just the recent one was on Corbin Burns. So we got Corbin Burns out today, Vladdy Guerrero, and Walker Buehler possibly to the Giants. I read that in a online somewhere about Walker Buehler. Might have been one of the Dodgers pages or something I read that Walker Buehler possibly to the Giants. So we'll see how all this pans out, guys. It's going to be interesting for sure. For sure. So Max Milano, do you think Buster will finally sign Burns? I think it comes down to, does Burns want to be a Giant more than the deal? What's more important to him? I think he's got a 7 or 8 year deal on the table worth probably $235, $240 with the Giants. And does he want to take that? Or is it going to go a little higher? You know, you got to really realize, guys, at some point, the Giants have to realize, is Boras pulling string? Are the Giants negotiating against themselves? Because you have to look at things. We're hearing that Pavetta, the Blue Jays are looking at Pavetta. Boston's maybe out. Baltimore just signed Sagano yesterday for $13 million. Are they taking different routes because they can't get Burns? And are the Giants just is Boris trying to get that money up a little higher and the Giants are saying no? And at some point, you cannot, if you think you have a deal, you got to stick with it, because if Boris is trying to get them to go to, say they're at 235 and he's trying to say, get you up to 260, sometimes you might, if that's where you have drawn the line, you just have to say, call the guy's bluff, because you might be negotiating against yourself. There may be no other team that's going above you. You may already be the highest bid. And if you keep raising it, you're just paying more money when you already had the guy. So, and you know what? These owners, these Greg Johnsons and whoever else these owners are, they are wealthy because they know how to deal. A lot of them are bulldogs. They're very bullish and they don't get suckered and cheated out of money. And if you piss off a millionaire or a billionaire, sometimes if you get them pissed off enough, they might just say, screw it. So you got to be really careful. It's a tough thing, negotiations. I'm reading some of your comments. Well, Cole, you can't really throw $300 million at a guy if, you're really eating the back end of that contract. You're probably eating $100 million plus if you do that. You figure Burns, let's say he's worth $35 million a year, and you got 4 really good years out of him. Well, you just paid $140. And if you're paying a guy $300 million, do you really want to have $150 million that you're stuck with? Look at the Detroit Tigers and Javi Baez. They can't stand that deal. They're dying to get out of that deal, but nobody wants to take Javi Baez from them. So, yeah, I think this is acceptable. 245. That's, you're looking at 40, right? 40, what is that? What is that? 35 a year? What is that? Hold on here, my math. All of a sudden, when you're doing different things, you can't think everything. Yeah, that's 35, right? I thought it was 35. That's 35 a year. You're not going to want to go 40 times 7. That's 280. I think the Giants would like to ideally maybe to get that down to 8 and 245, 250 maybe, to bring the AAV down. If you went 250 and 8, now you're talking 31. That's about 4 million difference. AAV plays a factor when you're looking at the luxury tax. Giants have about 41 million to play with. So it's a question of how close they want to get to that line. Also, do they want to look to maybe deal somebody like Yaz? Does a Taylor Rogers, who's making 11 million, does he get dealt? Between Yaz and Taylor Rogers, that's $20 million. We saw what the Chicago Cubs did today, right? They just unloaded Cody Bellinger's salary of $27 million, and they're going to pay $5 million over 2 years. So they're paying $2.5 million of that. So they basically got rid of about $25 million. Don't be surprised if the Cubs jump in now to the Corbin Burns sweepstakes. You wait. Sometimes that can happen, because think about it. All they've got to do if they sign Burns to like a $35 million deal, and don't forget who the manager is of the Cubs, okay? Who's the manager of the Cubs? Okay, you're going to hear this right here on NorCal Sports Network, and then it will be moved around to other places. You watch. The manager of the Cubs is Greg Counsell, who happened to be the manager of Corbin Burns in Milwaukee. Okay? Anthony, we're not giving any baseballs away tonight. We're going to wait till probably later in the week because we'll see how that goes. We got Marty Lurie tomorrow night. But you think about the Cubs getting rid of Bellinger. And the word is that the Cubs want to add a starting pitcher. Could it be Jack Flaherty? It could be. But what happens if they want to go in on Corbin Burns and reunite Burns and Greg Counsell? We saw what the Giants did with Matt Chapman and Bob Melvin, right? And Bob Melvin was really wanting to get his guy. So how about if the Cubs have freed up? Look, the Cubs did not go after Greg Counsell to finish in second or third place. Where did they finish last year? They finished, let me look at the standings. They finished second, but they weren't really that close to Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee's gotten worse. They've lost Adames and they've lost their closer, Devin Williams. So what happens if all of a sudden the hang up on this deal? What if the hang up on this deal is the Cubs talking to Scott Boras, and I believe Cody Bellinger's agent is Scott Boras, correct? I believe so. What happens if Boras says, look, I know you were looking to try and move off of Bellinger from the Cubs, and the Cubs didn't take on any salary. They got some guy named Cody Pito or something like that, or whatever. Guy's been a minor league pitcher. He's 31, going to be 31 this season in July, I think. I think he had a little bit of major league experience last year. This guy's just he's just a throw-in. He's a guy. The Cubs are taking no salary back, basically minimum. They could release the guy off the 40. They can just say sayonara if they don't want him. What happens if they want to go in on Corbin Burns? Who's the ace of the Cubs? They really don't have one. Right? So you heard it right here, NorCal Sports Network. Not saying that gonna happen, but what happens if the Cubs all of a sudden get in play for Corbin Burns? Yeah, they got Imanaga, Shota Imanaga, Justin Steele. What happens if they want to add? What happens if they're going for it? They just added Kyle Tucker for 1 year. Do you think the Cubs, now that they got rid of Bellinger? Let me take a look at their salary real quick. Let me take a look at the salary for the Chicago Cubs. We'll pull this up, everybody. We'll take a look at the Cubbies. Oh, yeah. They have plenty of money. It's not showing. I can't click on it. There's no link, unfortunately, but I will show you this. They're projected. Let me just pull this up. Usually there's a link and I can look at their salaries. See, like I can click on, see my cursor here, my mouse. I could click on St. Louis right there. I could click on the Giants. The Giants are at 199, guys. What is the tax? 241. Giants have 41 million. They're almost at 200 million. The CB competitive balance tax is 241 this year. Giants have some room to add Burns, but not much. But look at the Cubs, guys. They're at 180 now that they're off of Bellinger. See that? Cubs 180. Don't be surprised if Corbin Burns becomes a Chicago Cub in the next day or two. They haven't even been talked about. So I'm kind of smelling the Cubs as a possibility. Hopefully the Giants are still the leader. But what happens if the Cubs are coming up in price? Cubs got $60 million to spend. Giants got 40. And they've got Kyle Tucker under contract. Cubs are making a move, everybody. Chicago Cubs are not playing around. You got to think about it. You got Kyle Tucker. You traded for Kyle Tucker for what? To finish in third for 1 year and give up people? I don't think so. I don't think so. You got to overcome the Dodgers to get to the World Series. You got to overcome the Mets, the Braves, the Phillies. How are you going to do that with that roster? And you got Kyle Tucker for 1 year. What do you think, Lou?
Dan, if you pull this one out of your hat, you're the most amazing guy because you've been coming up with stuff like this. First of all, Dan, before I say anything, I just wanted to commend you. I thought that was a tremendous interview. I really enjoyed it. I know it's also tough because you want to ask him so much, but he's also against it. But, you know, having 160 people in the chat, very, very well done. I mean, I'm very proud of you because it was good to be on the outside instead of you basically being on the inside like I am now. So you did a great job. I thought it was tremendous. So well done.
Oh, thanks.
Listen
to your voice.
Dan, you might
sounding
be
great.
bringing up a good point. You know, I mean, the Cubs.
I don't know. I just thought of it. It didn't.
I completely agree. I think it's very well thought out. I thought, yeah. I mean, you know,
Thanks,
it's
Cole.
sort of amazing. There's always that surprise team every year that people think,
Right.
you know, are sort of out. And, you know, the Cubs, definitely have the money, you know, but maybe getting, you know, and again, Bellinger is a guy that's off and on. So maybe, you know, getting rid of him there, it's sort of like, what was the baseball
I mean, look at their
movie?
outfield.
The movie about the A's when they got rid of Giambi.
Oh, Moneyball.
And
Yeah,
Moneyball,
Moneyball.
that, you know, they were really going for it. And maybe, you know, he was just a problem because, you know, he came from the Dodgers originally. Maybe he just, you know, was a problem in the locker room. So you know, that could be something good. I think if, you know, today being Tuesday, if we don't see anything by Friday, I think the Giants are done with Burns. I'm going to give Friday the deadline because you keep hearing on TV, they're close. It's only them, Toronto. You know, if you listen to some of the Toronto people, they don't want to go any more money.
I don't think
and
he's going
it
to
just might
Toronto.
not work out. So hopefully they have a B plan.
Yeah. I got a feeling that the Giants are right there and maybe in the lead in a horse race. But if the Cubs are the guy with the late kick, you know, they've been pacing, and all of a sudden it's, you know, the quarter turn here, you know, and Trevor Dedman.
Yep.
If the Cubs come on strong, look, I'm just thinking out loud to myself, guys. You just brought in Kyle Tucker. You moved Paredes, got rid of that salary. Let's take a look. The Cubs. Let's see how much Paredes is making over, because I can't click on the Cubs. It's not allowing me to.
No. And the Cubs owner, you know, they're there to win.
Oh, yeah. So let's look at the Astros. Let's take a look at the Astros and see what the contracts they took on. They took on Paredes, this guy, Hayden Wizen, whatever his name is, and then Cam Smith. Okay. Paredes not making too much money, I don't think. Let me see. This is hard for you guys to see probably because I can't blow it up. I'm sorry. Where is Paredes on here? Come on. Okay, Hayden Wisniewski, he's just making league minimum. Paredes is making $5.2 million, and he's got 2 more years of arbitration eligibility. So he's making $5 million. So the Cubs unloaded $5 million, and they unloaded 25 in Bellinger. So the Cubs just got rid of $30 million, and they have Kyle Tucker. And now they got Pete Crow, Armstrong, Seiya Suzuki, and Tucker for the outfield. You need pitching if you're going to win. I'm just thinking I'm putting 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, no, I like it.
They moved off a salary. They want to add pitching. You're not wasting Kyle Tucker for a year and saying, okay, we're at 180. We're not going to spend anymore. You're either going after Flaherty, Manaea, or Burns. And the thing about Scott Boras is he runs the whole system. He's got so many guys. He's in on everything, so he knows what he can move this chess piece here because he's got another move making him moving here. So I think the Cubs are in on either Flaherty, Manaea, or Burns. And if he doesn't go to the Giants, he's either going to the Red Sox. I don't think he's going to Toronto. I think they're out. Forget it. And I'm not sure if he's going back to Baltimore because they just signed Sagano. $13 million. Do they want to go another $35 million on Burns? Maybe. Maybe they do. So I think it's down to I think it's the Red Sox, Giants, and Orioles are the 3 teams in on Corbin Burns. And if there's a late breaker that comes out of nowhere, it's the Chicago Cubs. Mm-hmm. You heard it here, NorCal Sports Network. I may be way out in left field. I may not even be in the bullpen.
But I like that. You got to go for it sometimes. That could be
it's my take.
I mean, you get a superstar like Tucker. Maybe Tucker said, hey, listen, I'm here for a year. I'll make you guys a deal. Let's be competitive. Show me how great Chicago is, and I will give you guys opportunity to sign me. Maybe getting rid of Bellinger is for the future with Tucker. I mean, imagine, Tucker in Chicago. They don't really have any superstars, since really, I mean, who's been the recent superstar? Mr. Steroids himself. When you think of the Cubs, they really haven't had that top guy. The Giants haven't had a superstar. Buster wasn't a superstar. He was a great player. But, here's their one opportunity. And, hey, get Burns. St. Louis is down. Milwaukee's down in that division. They get pitching right now. Now they're the favorite to win the division.
Yeah.
So
that's true, George. I know the Cubs have a great farm system, a lot of top 100 prospects. I have to look at their prospects again, if they're ready, what positions they play. But we'll see. You can never have enough pitching, in my view.
Yep.
I mean, the Dodgers, they've got Snell, Ohtani, Yamamoto, most likely Sasaki. That's 4 aces. And
they got Carrot Head. Top.
They got Dustin May.
Yeah.
They got Glasnow. Look, if you're going to beat the Dodgers in a series, you better have some aces. You're not beating them. The Cubs are not beating the LA Dodgers in a 7-game series with that pitching staff. We missed out on Bellinger and Tucker. We could have gotten at least one of those. I agree, Ben. I would have been strongly in on Tucker or Bellinger. Look, the Cubs gave away Bellinger for just salary dump. Giants could have actually given more value than the guy that the Cubs got. And the Giants could have said, you know what, we'll take the whole salary. Giants could do that. This is why we talked about last night. Are the Giants really serious? I'm talking about the ownership. I'm not talking about the executive office. Their hands are tied, guys. Their hands are tied behind their back. They want to do things. Look, executive office, the front office, they want to win. They're not trying to say, it's owners who control the purse. And if owners say, that's why Steve Cohen gets Soto, because he is the decision maker. The buck stops with him. He doesn't have to go ask anybody. He just
It's like Lake Up.
Yeah. Look, go Lake.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. Hey, we're willing to spend $400 million. You're going to have a couple $100 million in luxury tax. It's okay. Want to win. The guy paid luxury tax with Kelly Oubre on the team. They were terrible. And he didn't even trade him. Just to he kept him. So, because he thought he could win with him still. So, when you get owners who are more concerned about the bottom line than actually competing, because you got to think about it. What does it mean to Greg Johnson to win a World Series title? Serious. Ask yourselves. Is he going to get that excited if he wins? It's not going to change his life or day one bit. He's not doing anything. All he's doing is writing the checks and looking at the bottom line, and he's looking at making money. You think, I'm serious. You really think Greg Johnson is going to be euphoric if they win the World Series? He's already won 3. He's got 3 rings. What does he need a ring for? He can go buy one and make a better one. So this guy's more concerned about, a profit. It's a business to him. To Steve Cohen, it's like a hobby. He wants to win. Care less if he loses money on his baseball team. He'll make a couple billion somewhere else. Same with the Dodgers. They're making so much money. They're not trying to, we got to break even. We got to make sure we stay below the luxury tax so we don't get penalized. The Dodgers, we're going to lose. Eventually it'll stop, but they got so much money coming in through their TV deal. Look, the Giants got so much money going forward with their land at Mission Rock. If they wanted to, they could open up the pocket. The Giants could go sign Corbin Burns right now and trade for Vladdy and offer him a $800 million contract if they wanted. No. But they're not going to do it. There's no cap. So what's to stop the Dodgers from next offseason being all in on Kyle Tucker? Why wouldn't Kyle Tucker want to go play right field for the Dodgers? Maybe that's why they're not in on Hernandez. They'll go get a rental at the trade deadline to get him over the top, and then they'll just wait for Tucker. Tucker will be, you watch, Kyle Tucker will be one of 3 teams next year. It'll be a Yankee, a Met, or a Dodger. That's where the game's going, guys. That's where the game's going. So, I don't know. I'm a little concerned about the Giants, the desire for the ownership group. I know Buster Posey. I know Bobby Evans. I know Zach Menason and the front office, the players. There's a strong desire to win, period. But if you listen to ownership, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. Okay?
There you go.
I'm
Good
just
point.
telling you, look, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. If they want to spend, last year they spent money, they went over, and this year they want to stay under. Because if you go over for 2 years in a row, there's greater penalties for international money, draft picks, all that stuff. So I look for the Giants to make one move, and that's Corbin Burns, and I expect them, any other moves they make will be trades. to get certain types of pieces. So I'm thinking, if it were me, I would have offered a better package than what the Astros got for Tucker. I would have been in on that trade because you don't get a superstar to San Francisco. And look, it would have cost you probably, might not even have cost you Kyle Harrison, but it probably would have cost you like a Kyle Harrison, which is tough to let go. But it would have cost you maybe a Harrison, a Schmidt, and a Luciano, something like that. But you're not playing Schmidt and Luciano anyway. You don't even give them a chance. So what's the purpose of hanging on to them if you're just going to let them rot? And you could have offered somebody else. You could have thrown in a Wisenhunt, go got a Kyle Tucker, had some excitement at the ballpark. And you know what? If you're not in it at the trade deadline, trade Tucker for a couple of good prospects and you get them back. Get a couple prospects, probably get better prospects back. But if you're in it, and what happens if he falls in love with San Francisco? Everybody says, it's a great place, great franchise. People say the city, some people hate it, other people love it. Tough ballpark to play in, I get it. But what happens if he just falls in love with being around Buster Posey, a winner? And he likes the atmosphere, and the Giants pay him over $550. They offer him a 10, 12-year deal, $550 million, and he signs. I don't know. You're not going to sign him probably in the offseason. So I don't think the Cubs gave up a ton. This Cam Smith kid could be pretty good. He's probably the key to the deal. So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, Lou. I'm just kind of baffled that ownership is. Yeah, George. No one's talked about Santander. He sounds good. Other Giant. I'm hearing he only wants like 5 years, $20 million roughly a year.
Yeah, I'm just hoping Buster's not putting all his eggs in one basket, and it's going to backfire. Like
Good.
Everything's so close, everything's prepared. We know we're going to get burns. We keep waiting, keep waiting, and then boom, something happens.
You know what? Charles Johnson's 91 years old. I don't even know if he knows what's going on. Who knows? 91, yeah. I'm sure he's not worried about winning a World Series championship. He's won 3. He's probably like, just, son, make sure we're not losing money. Those people out in San Francisco, it's kind of funny that he's the majority owner. And I don't want to get political here, but he's on one side of the fence and the city's known for being on the other side of the fence. So
completely agree.
I don't know how much he really cares about the city. He probably loves the property values. That's probably so. What do we got? Bub Rad, 1 year Tucker deal is the same as 1 year Snell deal. Cool. Giants get third with Tucker and then he leaves. Wow. Yeah, but you also got to consider what you're giving up, Bub. Are you giving up a ton to get Tucker? Sometimes you got to take the chance. I mean, if
we did the same with Hunter Pence, and we signed him with 1 week left in the season before he became a free agent.
Yeah, for Cedar 777 says the skeleton in the closet. San Francisco's fallen the last 8 years. Everything is for lease. San Francisco needs a bounce back. My girlfriend left San Francisco 10 years ago. She won't move back. Sorry, but it's true. Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's still a great city in parts, but we'll see. Hopefully the Giants do something. But guys, we're going to head out of here. We're going to end it. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. Don't forget, tomorrow night, you're not going to want to miss the show. Tomorrow night, it's going to be a great show. We're going to do a dual show with Marty Lurie. Everybody knows Marty Lurie will be with us tomorrow night. So, and it'll be on his channel and NorCal Sports Network. So can't even spell tomorrow. How does that work? That's trying to.
It's up
What
there.
is that? How do you spell tomorrow? There it is. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Tomorrow night, Marty Lurie. Tomorrow night at 7. Putting that up here, 45. There we go, guys. So join us tomorrow night. Marty Lurie streaming together on both channels. So we appreciate you guys being here. Let me see the final comments. Make sure if I get 10 billion, I'm buying the team, and Dan will be the face of ownership. Thanks, bub. Hope you get that 10 billion. Don't forget me. I don't even need any of the money. Just let me help run the team. Pay me minimum wage. I'll be fine with it. So, yeah, go back and check if you missed tonight. Bobby Evans, go back and check it. He was on with us for roughly an hour or so, first hour. So, all right, everybody, have a great night. We will see you. Check out the videos out there that we put out today. More coming out tomorrow. And tomorrow night, 7:45 with Marty Lurie. For Lou Marston, we thank our guest, Bobby Evans. So long, everybody.